Hello. Knipser. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks that you're here. I hope, actually, you just got warmed up about what we are going to tell you, because we will talk about AI and we will talk about ChatGPT. Yeah? And of course, with my co-host here, I want to give them as much time as possible, so I need to speed up a little bit because I actually only do the warm-up for tomorrow. Yeah. And first of all, at this time already, I want to thank also our sponsors, Deloitte and Scott, supporting our AI Summit, which is going to happen tomorrow in Hall D. A little bit about us. We care about how we get AI into our economy. For this, we've built several companies, from AI Hamburg to AI Fund and so on, because we also realized how important it is to actually standardize AI into products so that basically every company is able to use it. The good thing is, just in Europe, there are more than 6,000 companies, AI companies, who actually produce products and more bring this into the market. Now with ChatGPT, we just need to speed it up a little bit. And this is actually something, one part, how we are, and I need to see if it's running there, how we also bring AI into the market by putting AI centers, or in German it's KI centers, together. What we just did for the Internorga. So you will see over the next 2 years, actually, that for every major show, we will put AI centers together where we bring startups together, AI companies who have solutions which they show. This was in March, where we actually put an AI center, or in German KI center, together and showed solutions for gastro, so for restaurants and for hotels, and actually found solutions which were as cheap as 40 euro per month, which actually helped taking the phone, taking orders for restaurants, or doing table reservations. So in German you would say, da kann Ihnen geholfen werden. Yeah? And there is, for more and more problems, a solution with AI. So after digitization, it's about optimizations and efficiency, and ChatGPT, of course, will even speed this up much more. So next Internorga, we actually will do the same thing. That's in March next year. But we also will do what is quite interesting in September this year. So in 3 months, we will do Photopia, which is all about video and photo and filming, and we will extend this because ChatGPT, with all their different then domain solutions, will provide productivity in basically everyone's work. So those are the images, those were the companies there. The nice thing about that was that every AI company there got customers, and they even helped each other. And by grouping this, it actually really helped this. And actually, I wanted to ask you, you can also already sit down, but you will have the word in a few seconds. Yeah. And I need to speed up. So that was Internorga, and we will do this, as I said, across multiple shows, bringing AI to the different industries and showing them there's a solution for you to make your life easier, more efficient, and hopefully more profitable. Yes, and of course I'm here actually to promote the AI Summit. So tomorrow we have a full stage, which is in Halle D, upstairs, where we will have a whole day with events, with speakers, with a lot around ChatGPT, but also all the other parts of AI, and with solutions. So this is the agenda, what we have. Too small there, but they also, some are here on tables, and if you today go to the exhibition room. There we also have a little booth. There we also have the program. So it's a full program, as you can see, with lots of speakers. So please come tomorrow. And we're actually starting early. We're starting 9:30. 9:05. Sorry, 9:05. So please come early enough so that you get your seat. And unfortunately, there's not so much space as you have it here. There we only have space for about 200 or 220, so secure your seat early. They will be gone fast. And at this time, it's actually for me also say thanks to our partners and our sponsors, Deloitte and Scott, helping us to bring the AI Summit together. And
AI is the most important technology of this decade, and all our lives will be changed because of AI.
We appreciate Hamburg's role as the largest non-capital city in the EU.
Out of our tech community, roughly 15 to 20% of the tech employees are related to AI.
Small organs that can be programmed to accept or reject certain viruses or certain genetic transformations.
There are hundreds and thousands of containers moving, but there are 10,000 of containers not moving.
That is the major point.
That we are able to solve the technology challenge for a clean aerospace.
AI in general, we should always critical ask, but we also have to get an understanding, in particular in Europe, what are the opportunities we can have with AI?
I think AI can solve a lot of health problems.
So we have a 10-year master partnership with the Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center, and the first task we took on under that particular partnership was a thing called Gecko.
This cyber tech showed how a country which is using digital transformation technologies can be completely paralyzed, right?
Well, this is really an exciting event, bringing all these fascinating people to Hamburg.
And I'm very glad that we could position Hamburg as one of the major global hubs for this kind of dialogue. And, it was already great, but it can always be greater.
I think, and that would be the hope, that we are able to lift AI in the presence of businesses, government, and make sure that more and more people, businesses, even consumers are aware of the possibilities of AI, which can drive so much economic value.
I'm delighted to be here in Hamburg, where I'll join you again in June, virtually or in person, for the International AI Summit.
I look forward to seeing you all at the AI Summit in Hamburg.
So, that's a teaser. I'm just here for the warm-up program. Hopefully, see you all tomorrow, early 9 o'clock, and I promise you it will be an exciting day. And as this is quite a great Congress Center, it's also not easy to find everything. So you see there at the very top, the mass stage. That is where the AI Summit tomorrow will be, but you will not be able to miss it because we will have staff all over the place showing you to our stage. So, see you tomorrow. And at this time, now of course, the stage is yours. I would like to introduce you to Kristiina and Thomas from Deloitte, who now will come into exciting stuff about ChatGPT.
Okay, so hello everyone, and thank you for coming. My name is Kristiina, and I'm leading the Tax and Legal Garage, which is our corporate incubator where we develop new kinds of product, services, and business models for ourselves and for our clients. And with me today is Matthias.
Hi, I'm Matthias. I'm a senior manager with Deloitte and a data scientist, not only coding and developing these technologies on the basis myself, but also developing use cases and bringing them to businesses.
Great. So Matthias also created those kind of pictures of us. So those are deepfake pictures. So I'm not unfortunately a ballerina. But maybe, Matthias, you can also say something about AI from the past to present and future.
Oh, yes. But the scientist that was me before. So, let's talk about the history of AI, because usually when you think of AI, it's the past 10, 15 years maybe. But AI has a very, very long history, actually. So, to bore you all at this time of the day with a little bit of history. So already in 1955, the term AI was coined by one of the fathers of that technology, and being the science behind making machines intelligent. So this is already quite old. And after that, you don't have to remember the name, there was the Mark I perceptron. So basically, first detection of a different or classification of numbers with a very crude camera. So showing pictures to a very basic computer and already classifying these. And this was before the 60s. So the roots go back very, very deep. And after that, even before the moon landing, we had the first chatbot, or one of the first sophisticated chatbots, when compared to the possibilities at that time. So this was a rule-based chatbot. So they were experts writing hard code to react to different inputs. There was one program that was simulating a doctor, so you can do research on the interaction of human to human, and just by the words you typed in, it reacts, but rule-based. So if you type in, I'm feeling sad, it asks you, why are you sad? So this is very decision tree-like. And yeah, very interesting, but back then, people thought that thing was really intelligent just because of the elegance of the answers it gave. So then there was the moon landing, and even before that, there was starting development of the first humanoid robot, Warbot it was called, so could walk and talk in Japanese. So that was the 70s, so also quite back. And then there came Deep Blue, defeating Kasparov, a name that's usually associated with chess, right? And only back then, in the 2000s, all the big tech corpos, high stock market prices right now, were funded. So quite late, actually. And then, one last example, Jeopardy was won by Watson from IBM. So going back from the question to from the answer to the question, so you have to contextualize a lot. And it was over 10 years ago, and only now we are talking about ChatGPT and all the capabilities. So that was a hallmark of that whole thing. So I talked a lot about the history now, but how does the whole dimension system of AI work? So at first we had the rule-based systems, which are already considered AI, just deciding on input, output, hard-coded by experts. And then there came later machine learning. So here's the data, here's the output, connect them, and find a very elegant way. So let's say you have a property and you want to know the value. You find all the different information about all the houses and all the in your area, and then calculate based on distance to the ocean, which is giving you a higher price, room size, and so on. And then you will get an output of that. Or giving a picture, is it a cat, is it a dog, something like that. And then a little bit deeper later, there Thrive deep learning, which is sometimes already synonymously used with machine learning, already established in the 80s. But we are only talking about it now for the past few years because we have the computing power and we have a lot of data. So these were inspired by human brain cells, but in a very, very simple way. And only because we use a lot of these, we can handle a great complexity. And these, as I said, need a lot of computing power to tweak and to learn, and a lot of data. So this was only available in the past few years. And so this is why this technology only took off, only a few years back. One downside of these is they are said to be black boxes. So the information goes in, and the stream of how the data is processed is very, very complex. So not really transparent for us, and sometimes raising questions about trustworthiness, how the decisions are made until we get the output. And over the past few years, now we are talking a lot about architecture, because these systems can be used in different ways, combined, formed, and because more or less the base technology is bricks and mortar, and now we are constructing bridges, tunnels, houses, skyscrapers out of these, to give you some example. And this gives you the flexibility. So this was more or less the past. And then November 2022 hit, and ChatGPT got released to the public, and then everything changed. So looking back all these months, now this event can be described as a black swan event, which is more or less, yeah, you know, swans are usually white, so a black swan is very rare, but it can happen that a black swan spawns. And it is quite unpredictable, so it's defined, and it has severe consequences, this event, extreme rarity, and a severe impact, and it was obvious on hindsight. So it was, yeah, looking back, we could say, yeah, it was quite obvious, right? Everything led to that. But at the moment when it hit, nobody saw it coming, and it changes everything more or less. The last big one was the internet, and this slowly creeped in. So this changed how we communicate, how we get information, it shapes our thinking and our working, not only in business but in private. And this is also what we are experiencing now with that technology being accessible for everyone.
So thank you so much, Matthias. So I want to give you now some hard facts, because we have heard about a lot of generative AI also from our previous speaker. So what we can sum up is that ChatGPT exceeded 1 million users 5 days after its launch. Like Instagram needed 2.5 months and Twitter 2 years in order to get like 1 million users. And among 500 senior IT leaders, generative AI will be prioritized for business during the next 18 months by 67% of respondents. I mean, that's like, I can't even express it in words. And the average of 79% of the leaders report a cost decrease via AI adoption. And I mean, we also see this already in our practice, because I mean, of course, this has also, our cost has decreased over the time. So I think it's really, really nice. And I think it's also really funny that most of, yeah, how shall I say it, elder people tell us that they actually came up with ChatGPT because they were introduced to ChatGPT by their children, who showed them in their private, like, how you can use ChatGPT, and then they transferred it into business context in order, like, for instance, to seek and ask, how can I write job offerings that they are interesting, for instance, for Gen Z, or how can I optimize my processes, and so on. And roughly 2/3 of US occupations are exposed to some degree of automation by AI. And we are also going to show you in a second, like, what kind of impact this will have. And maybe last but not least, 57% of senior IT leaders believe generative AI is a game changer, and 80% agree that generative AI will help them better serve their customers. And I mean, this is also really exciting, because if you open Instagram or TikTok or whatsoever, you always want, like, to get content which is specialized or optimized due to your behavior. So we are going also to show you some use cases how we are using generative AI in our practice.
So, but first to get a level deeper to understand a little bit better what we are dealing with, because it is more or less hooking on the technology we already have, and now it's out there. Here on the example of large language models, because we are all familiar, or I hope all familiar with it, or at least 50% we heard before with that. So The big difference is that these models are huge. So this is why they're called large language models when talking about using text as an input or output. And because these are quite huge, they need a lot of data to twig and twist all these different weights, so you get all the information in. It's like having a big brain and studying for your exams, and it has to go a lot into it. So you need a lot of time and a lot of stuff to really grasp the whole topic. And one issue with that is, one problem that's often discussed is large amounts of data are used. Where is it coming from? What's the quality? Is it biased? So everything that you put in is influencing, of course, because it's the base layer, what is learned into in these big networks. And also because they are quite huge, they are even less transparent often than the smaller ones we used to apply to other problems. So, as I said before, usually you have classification on numeric values as a classic use case. So, picking out your phone and it's focusing on your face. So it's differentiating between, I don't know, your cat, your dog, and it recognizes your face and then dials in all the different, all the lighting and so on. So having a classification, 1, 0. And also getting numeric value, like I said before, for your property, how much is the value. But now with generative AI, it's a little bit different because it was only to us humans to create something completely new, completely, in quotations, because now that we learned the structure of different information, so from text, from images, we can reproduce them. So the output is creative, but it's learned on the probabilities. So it's just repeating what it learned before. So this word follows this, follows this, follows this, and then combining everything. So for text, it's grasping how grammar works and also getting information together. But this is not, it's not based on reasoning. It's only based on what is brought together. And if you have been to the internet before, you will see that there is a lot of misinformation or a lot of missing knowledge out there, which is also incorporated. So this is a big problem based on the information that's also fed in. So, and these are quite versatile. So it's not only text we are talking about. We will see some examples afterwards, but we can also produce video, music. So every code, all different kinds of media, basically, that you can feed in and get out. And there's a whole, what makes it special, a whole variety. So the output is not always the same. So if you have a picture of a cat, it's always being a cat, 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 cat. And for the value of your property, it's always the same value. For GenAI, it's something different. So you have a whole spectrum what is concerned or was considered to be correct. And yeah, for the possible applications, yeah, I guess you already used ChatGPT. So the most cases of generating text from nothingness, summarizing hundreds of pages to distill it down to the essence in a few sentences, just communicating with that thing intelligently or translating in a very sophisticated manner, or even writing code, just instructing, I want a program that does X or Y, download me a YouTube video, and you will get a code out of it, something like that. So, talking about the development, this is actually an old slide from me, from an old talk, and I thought I want to keep it because it shows quite prominently. This is the green big dot in the middle. This is the old model. A few weeks back, right? we used to use that. This is also what's behind ChatGPT when you just go in your web browser and use it. This is still what you get for free. And this is the size, basically, of the model, which I put on to scale. So you have 157 billion parameters. That's as many stars there are in the Milky Way, right? And way back, there were a lot of different other models like T5, Mina from Google, also for OpenAI, and these are just some examples because there are so many out there. So, but this is the most prominent, so we picked out that one. And then a few weeks back, GPT-4 hit. That thing is 500 times bigger in parameter size than the one before. And compared to the example I showed before with the Galaxy, now you can imagine what's in there. And not only able to work on text, but also to interpret pictures and contextualize better to give you more eloquent output, and also with plugins get access to the internet actually to get more information that's not already in the model.
And nice. Now we come back to some numbers. So I found this was really, really impressive because the annual average growth rate is 27%. So annually, and I think it's like amazing, like how the growth is. It's enormous. And here we would also like to point out, because I mean, why is this growth so enormous? It is because there are like lots of potentials. So we also talked about cost savings. So generative AI can lead to significant cost savings by automating, of course, repetitive and time-consuming tasks that would otherwise require human intervention. So it's not that AI is making our jobs to be going away. It's more or less the people that are using AI. So in this case, of course, we have those cost savings, and we also have AI which enables us to deliver like highly personalized experience to their customer. As I said, if you are going to sell something, it's always nicer if the customer finds himself in the product. So if I open my Instagram account, I want to see products which are customized for me. And I also want to see them in a context where I feel familiar. And if the AI knows me best and they know that I love, for instance, like this is really cliche, but if I like pink, then I want to see the color pink and not blue. So I want it like totally personalized. And if you get, for instance, like, I mean, I'm a tax advisor, and if I would like write a text to our customer, as I would write it as a typical tax advisor, no one would understand the message. But if I write it like, okay, customer has no tax background at all, please write it to me that everyone gets the message, then it's like amazing how fast the text can be translated in a format that it's understood by everyone. And I think that's like really amazing, because sometimes it takes a long time, I mean, for us tax advisors to pronounce it that way that everyone understands what is it. And I mean, this is basically the customer experience where we definitely will leverage from, but it's not only the potential. I mean, there are also risks.
Yeah, there are also risks, but it's like, just coming back to what you already said about breaking down text information and something like that, and bringing it to or in a shape that a 6-year-old could understand, or a manager. This is something that is just manual, and it's manual work that you could also do maybe with, let's put it that way, with an intern, right? So if you give some instructions to an intern that's physically present in your office, you could also tell the person how this is a little bit structured, and just go on, collect the information and bring it in a format that also other understand. So coming less from the viewpoint of this is just technology, and this is something awake, a picture that we have of numbers and all these networks and a little bit pictograms that we showed. It has the capability of doing the work that juniors or even or interns could do. So being busy in the background, some So getting all these informations together and these capabilities. Yeah.
And of course now, as we have the trend like war for talent, it's also nice if you don't need so much people in order to get the work done, and then you can also focus on the topic or things that are more interesting. And for instance, you can also write your LinkedIn post through ChatGPT, and I think this is like really cool to have like certain tasks which you can totally outsource to generative AI.
So, but now,
oh, sorry.
Yeah, because I just interrupted. Yeah, because no potentials or no upsides come with a little bit of risks. So just to point some out, let's say the technological risks. So I said before, these models are huge, and we have quite often not the full transparency. And maybe you heard about hallucinations. So when there's no information inside, or if it's phrased a little bit differently, you will get false facts or false statements out of it. So you have to be very conscious, and you have to be in the topic to really know if it's legit what you are getting out of it. So you have to be an expert, actually. And knowing all these, or having these pitfalls, or the limitations with the technology, because coming back to the reference before, if you have a person that works for you, an intern, a junior, senior, doesn't matter, also how you talk to them influences how they work, what they get out. And sometimes you will get from these what you ask for, and sometimes not. And it's always also something with these models. But they are maybe a little bit more confident, these models, than your employees are.
Yeah, we always say that ChatGPT is like 90% true, but 100% confident. So you always have to see whether or not the information is complete, right, and then also amend it. But it's like really nice instead of beginning at a white piece of paper. And maybe also like everyone is like talking about, okay, is ChatGPT going to replace myself? I mean, this is also something what people also said when the computer was introduced. And nowadays we are working more than days back when the computer was introduced.
Yeah, that's one of the societal risks you just mentioned, losing jobs, but having a shift in paradigm, more or less. So you can go back, maybe one. Oh, sorry. I want to do one more or two. So competition risks. Let's say everyone uses all these popular models from Google, from OpenAI, from NVIDIA, something like that, and all the big corporates offer their giant models, and everyone uses them. So it all fades into everything fades between the companies. So your competitor will handle something of similar quality or similar content, actually, because the model, the information these are trained on is the same. So we have this dilution of quality, or this mushiness, more or less, which we are facing. So you have to enrich it with your own knowledge, your own expertise, and not completely rely on that. And also usage risks. Yeah, just to point another one out. Yeah, we heard a lot in the past of big corpos putting their confidential information in, and then others, the competitors, getting these very sensitive information out. So having strategy paper uploaded and ask it, making questions about them, and then the competitors just get very, very detailed info about that. So because we don't, sometimes it's open, sometimes it's not, where the data is processed and where it's stored, and if it's used to retrain these models and incorporate this information. So now.
Good. Now we talked a lot about like where can we use it, and we would also like to show you what kind of use cases we got. So of course we can use generative AI in order to like produce images. You saw that one from me and Matthias, video, music, and of course text. We can also we use it also in the garage for prototyping and design. So we are also accelerating our innovation process by using it. We can also use it for data augmentation. So this is also something where we say, okay, we don't have the critical data we need in order to train the system. So we basically generate synthetic data in order to do it. And the other thing is natural language processing, which we are dealing with at the moment in order to get human-like text. So we can basically summarize all kind of court decision, etc., in a text format that everyone can understand. And we also use it in the garage for code generation or bug fixing. And of course, automated text analysis and comparison. This is also one example which I want to show you on the next slide. And the last one is content search and aggregation. So talking about automated text. So what did we do? So this is one example how we integrated GPT-4 in our service offering. So probably you all know, in the context of tax and legal, it is really hard globally to see all the regulations which are coming up. So a multinational has to have an overview of all regulations within the world, and the head of tax or legal counsel has to know, is there any action to take? And also the managers have to know that. So in order to get informed, we specifically looked what kind of websites are needed in order to get a good overview. So we defined several websites, and then we developed a web crawler who basically extracts all the information when there is a new regulation pushed by the authority. And then the information is summarized by ChatGPT, and then it's going to be given to a local advisor who then has to make the quality review. So the local advisor looks whether or not the information is complete and correct, and he also enriches the data or the text if there is something missing. And then the actual text is then translated in the format as it should be. As I stated before, so if this is, for instance, a tax advisor, the information can be passed over. But if it's, for instance, a manager who has no tax knowledge, he only wants to know, is there any action required or not? So this is something what our tool does, so you always get a pop-up whether or not you have to take any actions.
Yeah, and another example, because we were summarizing and interpreting before, and using APIs like for ChatGPT, feeding text in, but this was public data. So this is there's less concerns because this is openly available. But what do you do as a corporation when you say, okay, we want to have our data private? We don't want to send it to Google, to OpenAI, or to Microsoft, or other companies that offer these models. It should be all the inputs that we make, all the requests, the prompts asking for the information should be kept locally in our ecosystem. So this is one example from regulated space, from pharma. And what we built actually at Deloitte is a digital expert assistant. This is a small model, not like the ones that you see that are galaxy size or 500 galaxy size, but quite small. And we can use these because they don't store much of information. Because these other models like ChatGPT and so on, or these apps, they incorporate a lot of info, so you can ask them about certain topics. These are more on the tool side, so you can use them to use the grammar and to bring together different inputs and to structure them. So you don't rely on the information that's stored within these models. So they are way smaller. You can deploy them just for a few, just buy a graphics card for or a few graphics cards, put them in your basement at your company, and you can just run that service. So, and what we have here is, these are inputs, just raw PDFs, SOPs, standard operating procedures. So these are processes you have to adhere to. They're set in stone, you cannot change them. But there are sometimes tens of thousands of these documents, and yeah, you approach a new machine, you pushed a few buttons, and then you don't know what to do next. And you have to rely on the information being 100% correct. So you have all these instructions to control the system. Yeah, I push these buttons, what to do next, reliably. And then this digital expert, this LLM, interprets what you put in, so you can communicate also natural language with that. So it's more of a language knowledge-based interface. And then you have, in a chat way, get the information also summarized and also have the references. So it tells you what to do next and gives you transparency where this information came from. So taking in the document information and preparing it in a way that it's quite fast comprehensible. And also, if you want to look up where this information came from or get more on that, just have the reference where this information came from, just to be more reliable. So next one, please. Yeah. So this one was directly on documents, getting the information out unbiased, more or less. So now we can also use this whole system again, not for only extracting and reflecting it as it was, but also to make analysis assessments. Let's say you're in a position, you are purchasing new IT services, and you have several different vendors, and you have all these different contracts with all the regulations and so on. You know it better, I guess. They're getting longer and longer and longer from year to year. And you have all these different conditions as a company. So what's the liability cap? If I have IT services, where are the servers? How is the data routed? Is there auto-renewal? And so on. And you have all these custom conditions. And you feed in all the different documents, and then you can check against all these conditions. So it extracts all the different aspects that you are looking for, and then assesses these automatically on a risk basis to tell you, okay, a liability cap is too high, or is too too high. Too low, I think, there is no. Are the servers located in Germany, in Europe, in the US? Is there a showstopper? And then giving you already a risk assessment over the different categories per contract, or overall. And recommendations on what you should discuss with a vendor again, so that red or yellow turns into green.
So the next one, I would like to show you like one example where I talked about, for example, for Instagram. So we want a target group orientated display of content. So in the means of course, the product remains the same, but it needs to get like an image around it where I feel like, okay, I want to buy it. So different consumers then get a different picture of the product in order, to basically then get the feeling, okay, I want to buy the product. So this one is maybe an awful example because maybe not everyone wants to buy this kind of chair, but it could be done with whatever product. So we can use generative AI up to speed. So as we know who our customer is, we can then produce the content how he would like to get the content or how he would like to see the content. And then we can totally sell products even more than before.
Or even, just to jump on that, even chain different technologies. So she said she likes pink. Maybe I can extract that information because I know a little bit about her, can feed that into an LLM and ask, what would be the surroundings so she would be addressed as clientele? So give me the surroundings where they are appropriate, and then take these as input to tweak and twist these images, and not having 3D software, but just the image generation behind that. So, and not only for products is that useful, but also for ourselves as a company. So maybe you recognize the picture in the middle was the intro slide, and we use already generative AI because we have this big green circle, the green dot, as our motif that is always recognizable. So you can also feed it in as structure information, because before we had the chair and then it built something around it, but you can also just give it a structure of, yeah, that's a ring or a disk or even a sphere, give three-dimensional data, and then feed it in and say, give me a jungle scene or a cute panda eating bambus. And then it incorporates this shape. And this is not only applicable for these shapes, but also for the poses of people, also for buildings to remodel. So there are a lot of different possibilities. And being able to customize also visuals that appeal not only for, on Instagram for advertisements, but also to give you a better sense of what we are talking about. Let's say you're developing or having a workshop for strategy development, and just to get faster in the mood, just to picture it, how the extrema feel if it turns out this way or that way, just to really get into the mood and to get deeper into the topic.
And I mean, this is also a really nice example that you can increase your efficiency, because now you get like really nice PowerPoint slides with one click. So you basically only say, okay, I want a PowerPoint presentation about whatsoever. So you get the text generated, you get the pictures generated, and then you have your PowerPoint slides. So if you are someone like me who is like really creative, but I hate PowerPoint. I love Illustrator, but I hate PowerPoint. So you get it like really fast done, and it looks amazing, and it looks so professional.
Yeah, or even just start with a scribble. Yeah, I have a raw image in my mind, just starting off having something like that looks like a toddler drew it, and turn it into something beautiful. And this is all possible with these technologies. And so the next slide, please forgive me, that's not because I fell in love with myself, but just to show you, there's a little hobby of mine. So this is done also with the technology. It's maybe you heard of Midjourney and DALL-E. This one is Stable Diffusion. You can run it on your own PC, and I did that on my old machine, a few years old, so not the newest graphics card. Doesn't have a lot of power. So and even that is possible, and it is accessible, and it's open source, and it's free out there. And people in the community, they build these systems. So you don't have to write code. It's very interactively. And just to show you the power, I trained a few models, took me 20 minutes to do that. Just went into my phone, drew out some pictures, 10 or so, of myself, and fed it into the AI, training a model, and tweak and twisting, and then I could even type in a prompt, generate Matthias. And then a little bit additional parameters, as you can obviously see, and then Rembrandt drew myself. And this is quite amazing. So, but a lot of post-processing went into that as well, just to make it look nicer. But I hope you see the irony, because this is not what I think of myself. But so, and this is not only this technology or the availability of these possibilities, what you see here now, just putting a face on, which you know from deepfake, I don't know, Merkel and Obama walking happily at a beach. But this was done with a lot more effort. And this is not only 1 week, it's only 1 week old, so I did these in 10-15 seconds, just generating, getting an image out of it, and then slapping on one single image, and making these. We have a bunch more. Maybe get connected on LinkedIn. Maybe we will find some. And just type in scientist in a lab, and then you can just augment it with your face. It takes a few seconds longer, calculates the geometry of your face, and then directly puts it in. So not taking a picture that you already have and incorporating, but doing it all together. And this is, not even 1 week old. Just download it, and it's a little bit fiddly because the community is currently working on that and it's a little bit experimental, but it's out there and it's quite easy to use once installed.
Okay, so now we come back to business. What does it mean for us? I think, of course, I'm always coming with the numbers because I'm a tax advisor, but nevertheless, I think there is like one point which I wanted to raise, which I thought like is impressive. I already mentioned that like AI is not completely replacing us. There are the people using AI which replace current jobs. So there will come new jobs. And I think it's tremendous that generative AI could expose the equivalent of 300 million full-time jobs to automation. And what that means is that would be like the complete US. And I think that is enormous. But on the other hand,
yeah, there's also close to have a 7% increase in global GDP with all that technology. And to be mentioned, these 300 jobs, yeah, currently, but there are new jobs already popping up. So maybe you heard of prompt engineers. There were developers before earning $65,000 a year. Now they earn $250,000. So things change quite rapidly. If we have them around for the next 2 years, I don't know. But this is currently a job that was created. And it was also like with the automobile, before they were fearing, okay, now we have these, what do we do with our horse carriages? And there was the whole industry that had to build behind that, and it created more jobs than were killed before by this invention. So just not only to look on the downside, but the possibilities that are out there.
Okay, so last but not least, we also wanted to show you how the interrelation is between AI. So of course, on the one hand, I think this is like a really fair point, like AI is getting more and more a commodity. So several years ago, clients said, we would love to work with AI, but we can't afford it. And we also saw, like in the last couple of years, that it's getting cheaper and cheaper. For instance, for this whole data extraction, etc., for image recognition, we only pay like mini cents, and before it was like couple cents, and now we are talking about mini cents. And also this interrelates with like everything else. So the business is getting the products cheaper, and they can also do cost saving and increase their efficiency in processes. And on the other hand, the consumers, of course, say, okay, if you are going to get your processes increased and you are using AI instead of people, then we also want the product cheaper, right? So this is also like how this affects. And of course, consumers, on the other hand, they also want from the technology providers that in case that there are, I mean, you all see it, there are like more and more prompts coming up, and it's costing a lot of energy, power. So they also want green energy. So the society is also linked to the technology providers in order to ask for sustainable energy. So this is like all about like, okay, how can we produce green power in order to get this all running. I mean, we are at the BLOCKCHANCE, so of course blockchain also needs a lot of power. So where do we get it from? How do we do it? How do we get it not only cost effective, how can we also do it more sustainable? So there is like a correlation between or among all of them. And also, for instance, like governments and law, like there are like lots of things like copyright and data protection, and also like in this regard, like also I'm thinking about copyright. We are talking about lots about data and text, etc. So how are people actually being rewarded who are writing articles, for instance, and then they are going to be used as training data? So how is this all going to be set up? And I mean, you all saw that also the Italian government also said, okay, this is like this increase is incredible. We want to stop it. We do not want to proceed with ChatGPT. So but we think like it's, yeah, I mean, we talked already about the potentials and also the risk. So you always have to keep in mind like what are the potentials and how am I going to use it? I mean, for instance, we at Deloitte, we have also practice manuals, as you all probably do have. They are like 570 pages, what you can do, what you're allowed to do, what you can't do, especially in terms of remote working. So there are like several regulations also among remote working. So I thought it was really nice because we have also a closed system for generative AI. So the documents which I'm going to upload there, they are not going to be spread among everyone else. So I basically put in all our practice manuals and asked ChatGPT whether or not I'm allowed to go to Spain and how long can I do remote working in Spain. And it was incredible because it was like directly the correct answer, and it was not written in the text explicitly that you can be or stay in Spain for 3 weeks, but ChatGPT found it. And I think it's also really nice if you can also see where the information came from, and then you can have this quality review right directly, because at the moment, if you're using the free version of ChatGPT, there is like no internet access, and you don't see where the information come from, and it also hallucinates, yes, so it makes things up. So this is like, yeah, not so cool, but on the other hand, if you're like using products which cost at the moment, then it's like amazing what you can all do.
Yeah, and one fun fact, because you mentioned Italy, I just have to give you that, because I think they banned it on end of March, April, I don't know. And if you look at Google Trends, within Italy, there's the search trends went up for VPN. So the Italians really wanted to get their ChatGPT, and you can just see everyone has now VPN or Google how to use that and to get this technology, and then it dropped again because everyone had it. So yeah, you even see from the society perspective or from consumers, there's a real need behind that, not only from the businesses.
Yeah, so thank you all. We have now a little time for question and answers, but we can also answer them. We are upstairs at the party, so you can also ask them at the party, however you like, but we can also like do a couple of questions now if you got some.
You can also come closer if you like.
I know the last rule is cool, but can also come closer.
So if nobody has questions, I think actually it would be possible. I can take out my Bing and actually ask a question, what we should ask you, and we can do it with voice. But I think there we have enough ideas ourselves. I think one of the things I'm really now interested in is there are so many tools coming out on top of those large language models, is which are the first tools each of you is kind of using where if you've been seeing the highest productivity?
Yeah, it's definitely LLMs for me. So the first access, when I said November 2022, when hit, I built up a whole knowledge base for myself, so getting an overview over different topics and just asking and asking and asking and drilling down and collecting all of these different informations to have this scaffold of different topics, how they are connected, and then afterwards, because back then we didn't have the references where this information came from, but to have a rough scaffold where I can put in my own knowledge, and afterwards to review, just to make sure that everything is clean. Yeah, I think it was maybe 90% only took me 10% of the time that it usually would take me just to Google and verify and get a few sources and then getting back. So you can just, yeah, as you know, you get the output and then you make a reference and it speeds up immensely your workflow. So this was the first for me and still is.
So did I understand it on ChatGPT themselves with prompting, or which tool?
Yeah, there was directly with ChatGPT back then, yeah, because it was more or less also for me, besides having these, as I already sketched, these old GIFs moving around and produced by Gen AI a few years ago, this was the one that also hit the most for me.
Yeah. Any short, so on prompting, if you have things which are repeating, how do you do it? Do you, how do you do your prompting? Because we all know you start asking and add more and more, but when you've done it several times, then you also know, okay, maybe I have some templates, maybe I have a template generator, something like that. Yeah. What about you?
I mean, of course, like if you open my ChatGPT, I got like several topics. So if I have the same question again, I'm just opening the last chat and then I'm looking like which topic I looked for. But nowadays, I mean, it's of course really neat not to start from a white paper. And for LinkedIn, I think it's like really, really good. Or if you have like no clue at all in order like to get a picture of whatsoever, and then it gives you a rough estimate how you could proceed. So for private reasons, I wrote a crime dinner, like a mystery crime dinner on ChatGPT, which was awful because ChatGPT would not support any criminal actions. So I asked him, how could I murder? How could I kill? And I also asked, like, how could you drown without like not drowning, like secondary drowning? I don't know if you have ever heard of it. I didn't, but it wasn't supportive at all. So if you ask like now, if you ask several things, like ChatGPT is already trained that it does not support you in criminal actions. And this is also like if you ask, for instance, for work, like people also ask like, okay, tax advisors also, like you don't need a tax advisor, you got ChatGPT. But if you like take their advice, now ChatGPT always says like, please ask your tax advisors because like, what he basically did was tax fraud. So you should not take everything for serious, what he's saying. Yeah.
So I myself, I use Bing now much more because what I like is getting the references. Yeah, so which is one of the problems on ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's a very powerful way to leverage already your work.
And I expect there will be more tools which then makes it easier. You know, if you always have similar topics, then it's kind of easy. But I know from people who, for example, now work with templates because they just learned, hey, I want to get as an output a table containing these and these and these and these fields. Yeah, and if you do, then it's easier with that. And I'm pretty sure we will see some tools from software developers who actually help to standardize. Also on those graphics, which tool did you use there?
Stable Diffusion, which is from Stable Foundation. And completely out there for free, and they're training. It's quite amazing. They are putting out in a few weeks the new one. I'm pretty hyped, and also because okay, now it's getting nerdy, but text is a problem, generating text, because it doesn't grasp the idea of how text works. All these AIs do have a problem right now, also with hands, because you can look straight at that and you only have one finger of 3 or 5 or something like that, so it struggles a little bit. Also with bananas, you can imagine, and also with legs. And it's getting way better, and you also can type in now directly, person holding up a sign saying X, Y, Z, and it works. So this is, and the models before just came out a few months back, and the development is blazing fast. Yeah.
And it's also really great for music. So I don't know if any one of you compose, but it's really nice how it's working on also for doing music. So if you are not sure what you should play next, it gives you a really good indication what you could maybe play next, like which tone.
Yeah, and also back to what you asked, how do you prompt? Let's say, for the images, there are great resources out there where they post the image and also the prompt they use and all the parameters. So not only learning how to use these systems, because yeah, my reference before, when you have these language models and they all behave a little bit differently, because also like people behave differently and they react to different inputs and give you different outputs and quality, and to get a better idea how these systems work. And there are great references out there where you can just watch what goes in, what goes out, or for inspiration, just clicking on, maybe you have Pinterest, right? You just one image and then you get similar ones, and then you get, with 3 to 4 clicks, you get very close to what you want. And also with these systems, you have great resources. If you have the time, go to openart.ai, just to name one. And this is not only for images, but also for prompts. So you can see input, output, and also have these prompt templates that are currently all over the place, where it tells you if you want to create, let's say, a post, you describe the role of the person who behave like you are a very senior, yeah, let's say for art director or something like that, and make recommendations out of your position, and then you give a whole description how it should behave. And this is very powerful, because usually you just go off and slowly getting where you want to go, having these.
So I think it's actually a real fun time, as I can see, even for your spare time, for your hobbies, you can use it and actually find a lot of creativity. And I think, kind of looking forward, I know in Silicon Valley over the first 3 months, there were 300 new companies on generative AI. So there's a real wave, tornado. We are kind of inside the tornado in creating a lot of new software tools which will make our life easier, if it's spare time, if it's on business. So therefore, every one of you can expect, you will see, besides prompting, lots of great tools which will make you more happy, more productive, which also is, of course, necessary. Yeah. So, looking at our time, is there anything you would like to add at this time? We have 3 minutes left.
I think we spoke so fast, because before that we were like so overtime. So I hope you got all the information. Otherwise, follow me on LinkedIn so you get the information, and maybe it's done by me or ChatGPT.
Yeah. So both of you on LinkedIn, we should have put your QR code. Do you have it on a slide?
Unfortunately not.
Yeah. So I think what's interesting is they have a big team all working on AI and generative AI. And clearly the company, Deloitte, is committed to actually do a lot there, because they see already in their daily work, it will have a huge impact to all of our work, to our spare time, to whatever we do in the future. I hope we gave you some inspiration. And there was one last thing. Tomorrow is the AI Summit. All day, whole day, upstairs. You will find it, and we will have several of our staff guiding you over there. And don't forget, come early. There is not as much space as here. It's limited. So come early enough, because we start 9:05, what I've learned a little earlier. And we will have some fun, because all of this is, actually, it's fun. Working on more productivity and creativity and doing a much, much better job.
Yeah, thank you so much. I meet you all at the party.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I have a joke. I saw a meme, and it said, to replace graphic designers with AI, clients will need to accurately describe what they want. We're safe. But you maybe convinced us otherwise. Thank you very much. We're going to take just a little break. We're still waiting for our next and our last panel to gather. Hi. There's just a few minutes. Maybe you want to step outside, have a cup of coffee, and come back in. We'll meet back here at 5:15 for our last panel of the day, where Mark Friedrich is hosting for us, and we're going to be discussing the Bitcoin versus gold debate. See you in about 10 minutes. Thank you.